Hey there everyone. So today I wanted to make a video on school because I know school's coming up soon, at least it is for me, in like 9 days, and I'm like, no. And so I wanted to kind of make a video talking about all of the messed up things about our school systems. At least my school system. I know not all schools are like this. I know some schools are rather lenient on things such as dress code. But I think most of these topics that I have can apply to your school, depending on if you are homeschooled or if you go to public school. What I'm talking about is public school because that's all I know. I've gone to public school my whole life. I have some points written down here, and I am going to get started. My first point is the mandatory education versus our electives. So, we are required to take math, English, or reading, or language arts, science, and history throughout school, like forever. All 12 years of your school, those are the 4 mandatory classes that you have to take. And then you get the side of it where you can choose whether or not you want to take choir or art or band or whatever you want to do. Now, I don't have a problem with being introduced to basic math, basic science, the basics of life, the principles of life that apply to everybody, what everybody needs to know. Everybody needs to know 2 plus 2. Everybody needs to know the basics. Everybody needs to know basic multiplication, basic division. I agree. What people don't need to know is complex algorithms. Algebra does not apply to everyday life. I'm sorry, algebra teachers, it doesn't. I literally had a teacher tell me I needed to know something on what we were learning because it was going to be on our graduation tests. And I asked her, well, are we going to need it any other time in our life? And she's like, you need it on the test. So if I only need it on this one single test, and I'm never going to apply it any other time in my life, why do I need it? Why must we be so focused on learning these complex things that not everybody is going to get? Everybody gets the basics, depending on the pace that they're taught. Everybody gets the basics because they're basics. And then you're told, now you can take these classes.
I wasn't taught how to get a job,
when in reality,
but I can remember dissecting a frog. I wasn't taught how to pay tax, but I know loads about Shakespeare's classics. I was never taught how to vote. They devoted that time to defining isotopes. I wasn't taught how to look after my health, but mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Never spent a lesson on current events. Instead I studied the old American West. I was never taught what laws there are. I was never taught what laws there are. Let me repeat, I was not taught the laws for the country I live in. But I know how Henry VIII killed his women. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. Glad that's in my head instead of financial advice. I was shown the wavelengths of different hues of light, but I was never taught my human rights. Apparently there's 30. Do you know them? I don't. Why the hell can't we both recite them by rote? I know igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary rocks, yet I don't know squat about trading stocks or how money works at all. Where does it come from? How does the thing that motivates the world function? Not taught to budget and disperse my earnings. I was too busy there rehearsing cursive. Didn't learn how much it costs to raise a kid and what an affidavit is, but I spent days on what the quadratic equation is. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. That's insane, that's absolutely absolutely insane. They made me learn facts over basic first aid, or how to recognize the most deadly mental disorders or diseases with preventable causes, or how to buy a house with a mortgage if I could afford it, cause abstract maths was deemed more important than advice that would literally save thousands of lives. But it's cool, cause now I can tell you if the number of unnecessary deaths caused by that choice was prime. Never taught present day practical medicines, but I was told what the ancient Hippocratic method is. I've got a headache, the pain is ceaseless, what should I take? Maybe try some leeches? Could we discuss domestic abuse and get the facts, or how to help my depressed friend with a mental state? No, but learn mental maths, because you won't have a calculator with you every day. They say it's not the kids, the parents are the problem. Then if you taught the kids to parent, that's the problem solved then. All this advice about using a condom, but not for when you actually have a kid when you want one. I'm only fluent in this language, for serious the rest of the world speaks to. Do you think I'm an idiot? I chose to solo over the political system, so like a typical citizen now I don't know what I'm voting on, which policies exist or how to make them change. Mais oui, je parle un peu de français. So at 18 I was expected to elect a representative for a system I had never ever been presented with. But I won't take it. I'll tell everyone my childhood was wasted. I'll share it everywhere how I was educated, and insist these pointless things don't stay in school.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to be using trigonometry there. Unless I'm designing boxes for a company that makes food, which that's not what I want to do. I want to make food. I'm not using trigonometry. Yes, I'm using math and measurements and that kind of stuff, and temperature for the water or the food, and I know that, and I have that basic knowledge. I know how to measure, and I know how to tell temperature, but what I don't need to know
I wasn't taught how to get a job,
how to solve,
but I can remember dissecting a frog. I wasn't taught how to pay tax, but I know loads about Shakespeare's classics. I was never taught how to vote. They devoted that time to defining isotopes. I wasn't taught how to look after my health, but mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Never spent a lesson on current events. Instead I studied the old American West. I was never taught what laws there are. I was never taught what laws there are. Let me repeat, I was not taught the laws for the country I live in, but I know how Henry VIII killed his women. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. Glad that's in my head instead of financial advice. I was shown the wavelengths of different hues of light, but I was never taught my human rights. Apparently there's 30. Do you know them? I don't. Why the hell can't we both recite them by rote? I know igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary rocks, yet I don't know squat about trading stocks or how money works at all. Where does it come from? How does the thing that motivates the world function? Not taught to budget and disperse my earnings. I was too busy there rehearsing cursive. Didn't learn how much it costs to raise a kid and what an affidavit is, but I spent days on what the quadratic equation is. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. They made me learn facts over basic first aid, or how to recognize the most deadly mental disorders or diseases with preventable causes, or how to buy a house with a mortgage if I could afford it, cause abstract maths was deemed more important than advice that would literally save thousands of lives. But it's cool, cause now I can tell you if the number of unnecessary deaths caused by that choice was prime. Never taught present day practical medicines, but I was told what the ancient Hippocratic method is. I've got a headache, the pain is ceaseless, what should I take? Maybe try some leeches? Could we discuss domestic abuse and get the facts, or how to help my depressed friend with a mental state? No, but learn mental maths, because you won't have a calculator with you every day. They say it's not the kids, the parents are the problem. Then if you taught the kids to parent, that's the problem solved then. All this advice about using a condom, but not for when you actually have a kid when you want one. I'm only fluent in this language, for serious the rest of the world speaks to. Do you think I'm an idiot? I chose to solo over the political system, so like a typical citizen now I don't know what I'm voting on, which policies exist or how to make them change. Mais oui, je parle un peu de français. So at 18 I was expected to elect a representative for a system I had never ever been presented with. But I won't take it. I'll tell everyone my childhood was wasted. I'll share it everywhere how I was educated, and insist these pointless things don't stay in school.
Or that guys don't have their pants down to their knees and are walking around shirtless. That's not something we need. But what we don't need is the faculty of schools telling our boys and girls that boys are going to look at women as a sexual object. Not only is that sexist for women, that women are a walking sex stick, that's sexist for men, telling men that all of you are just animals, just wanting sex.
I wasn't taught how to get a job.
And
but I can remember dissecting a frog. I wasn't taught how to pay tax.
I have enough control to not
but I know loads about Shakespeare's classics. I was never taught how to vote. They devoted that time to defining isotopes. I wasn't taught how to look after my health. But mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Never spent a lesson on current events. Instead I studied the old American West. I was never taught what laws there are. I was never taught what laws there are. Let me repeat, I was not taught the laws for the country I live in, but I know how Henry VIII killed his women. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. Glad that's in my head instead of financial advice. I was shown the wavelengths of different hues of light, but I was never taught my human rights. Apparently there's 30. Do you know them? I don't. Why the hell can't we both recite them by rote? I know igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary rocks, yet I don't know squat about trading stocks or how money works at all. Where does it come from? How does the thing that motivates the world function? Not taught to budget and disperse my earnings. I was too busy there rehearsing cursive. Didn't learn how much it costs to raise a kid and what an affidavit is. But I spent days on what the quadratic equation is. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. They made me learn facts over basic first aid, or how to recognize the most deadly mental disorders or diseases with preventable causes, or how to buy a house with a mortgage if I could afford it, because abstract maths was deemed more important than advice that would literally save thousands of lives. But it's cool, because now I could tell you if the number of unnecessary deaths caused by that choice was prime. Never taught present day practical medicines, but I was told what the ancient Hippocratic method is. I've got a headache, the pain is ceaseless, what should I take? Maybe try some leeches? Could we discuss domestic abuse and get the facts, or how to help my depressed friend with a mental state? No, but learn mental maths, because you won't have a calculator with you every day. They say it's not the kids, the parents are the problem. Then if you taught the kids to parent, that's the problem solved then. Or this advice about using a condom, but not for when you actually have a kid when you want one. I'm only fluent in this language. For serious, the rest of the world speaks too. Do you think I'm an idiot? He chose to solo over the political system, so like a typical citizen, now I don't know what I'm voting on. Which policies exist or how to make them change me. Je parle un peu de français. So at 18 I was expected to elect a representative for a system I had never ever been presented with. But I won't take it. I'll tell everyone my childhood was wasted. I'll stare at everywhere how I was educated, and insist these pointless things don't stay in school.
Showing them that they are nothing more than a walking stick with boobs and a vagina that have to cover up, or else they're going to get raped by these men who aren't taught better. If we start teaching the boys that we are something that is to be respected, just like we respect them, then there won't be a problem, and we won't have to live in fear of walking around wearing a tank top, for crying out loud. I can't show my knees without getting in trouble. Like, what are we supposed to do? Wear a potato sack?
But I can remember dissecting
that's not
a frog.
appropriate, is it?
I wasn't taught how to pay tax.
Because it's baggy clothing.
But I know loads about Shakespeare's classics. I was never taught how to vote. They
I'm
devoted
so
that time to
appalled by
defining isotopes. I wasn't taught how to look after my health. But
These are the main things
mitochondria
that I
is
wanted
the
to bring up
powerhouse
in
of the
these
cell.
videos, to show
Never
how
spent a
messed up
lesson
our
on
school
current
systems
events.
are.
Instead
There
I
are some
studied
great
the
things
old
about our school
American
systems
West.
too, yeah.
I was never
Some
taught
school
what
systems
laws there
compare
are.
us
I
with
was
some
never
aspects
taught
of
what
life.
laws there
Not
are.
all
Let me
aspects of
repeat, I
life,
was not taught
such
the laws
as,
for
I
the
don't know,
country I
balance
live
in
in.
a
But I know how
checkbook,
Henry VIII killed his women. Divorced,
credit
beheaded,
cards
died.
work,
Divorced, beheaded,
how to get a job, how to apply for college, you know, just the necessities, how to raise a
but I was never
child,
taught my human rights. Apparently there's 30. Do you know them? I don't. Why the hell can't we both recite them by rote? I know
but it's okay.
igneous,
I was
metamorphic, and
taught to stay
sedimentary rocks,
abstinent
yet
and
I
use a
don't know
condom.
squat about trading stocks or how money works
Peace
at all.
out.
Where does